Hello everyone, it's Crystal from Beautifully Broken Crafts, Hauls, and more again, and I have my St. Patrick's Day DIY video. I know it's late, but better late than never, I like to say, because as I've told you guys in my haul videos, life has been chaotic with work and life. So for DIY number one, I'm taking this oval shaped sign I've had on hand for over a year now from Dollar General. I am going to paint the entire front of it with 2 to 3 coats of Waverly white chalk paint, and then you will see me use a combination of different paint colors to make a rainbow. So that first color you see me using there is the Crimson Waverly Chalk Paint. Next I'm using the Pumpkin Orange by Waverly Chalk Paint. I will then be using a yellow Apple Barrel Paint. For the green, I did start off with the Celery Green chalk paint by Waverly, but it was just too light, so I ended up adding some Forest Green Apple Barrel acrylic paint. Then I will use a blue color Apple Barrel paint, and then the purple is the Martha Stewart paint I had found from Dollar Tree several hauls ago. Now I'm taking this Folk Art Metallic Gold, Inca Gold acrylic paint, and I'm just going to paint the border of this oval with 1 to 2 coats just to give it some definition. Here you see me going over the rainbow with a wet paintbrush. It's just water on there, and I'm just blending the colors together a little bit to make it look more of like a natural rainbow than such stark separate colors. So they're kind of blending into each other. I did decide to touch up some of the purple and add it a little bit more because once I had added the water to blend the colors together, it was almost gone. But that's really all. You can do this if you're going to recreate something similar to this or this in general. You can do this with any colors you choose, and however you like. This is just how I chose to do this project. Now I'm going to take one of these pots of gold, as you can get from the Dollar Tree, in a set of 4 or 5, I believe. I like to call them cauldrons because that's what they remind me of. And I just used my X-Acto knife to cut it in half along the seam that you will see when you pick these up. And then I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and super glue gel to get this onto my little oval piece on one side. I will use the plastic gold coins that you can purchase from Dollar Tree in a bag. And I'm also going to use one of the pom-poms they have out right now for Easter bunny tails. And I'm going to cut it and fluff it up to make it look like a cloud, to glue it to the opposite side of the pot of gold. I decided to add the handle of that pot back to the pot, and in order to do so, I had to pop the pot off of the front of the picture here and reattach it once I got that little handle into the hole on one side of the cauldron. For the other end of the handle, I'm just going to use the hot glue and glue it to the back of this plaque. Now I'm using 2 of the tumbling tower blocks that you can get from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue on one on the back side and one on the front side so this can stand up on its own, and then I'm going to cover the one in the front with more of that pom-pom that I had cut apart to turn into the cloud. That way you cannot see it and it's covered. Here I felt like it was missing something, so I just took these window clings I had from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use a combination of the shamrocks and the coins on here and add them to this little plaque to zhuzh it up a little bit more. And I'll also end up adding one more of the plastic gold coins to this to hide the hole on the front of the plaque and to make it look like some of the gold is coming out of the pot. And that will be it for this one. This was actually one of my kids, Mark and Peyton's, favorite projects that I made in this, and I was kind of surprised by that because I went back and forth with whether or not I liked this one. To get those gummy clings to stick to this, I did have to, I don't know if I said it, I probably did, but I'm just going to repeat myself, a combination of hot glue and super glue gel, because sometimes the hot glue did not want to adhere to that jelly type cling, and I do believe the Jenga block on the back popped off, so I had to re-glue it, so that's what you see in there too. And here is that one completed. I just have it sitting in my kitchen on a tiered tray with one of the ceramic gnomes that they had at Dollar Tree a while back. On to DIY number 2, I am just taking one of these wooden plaque pieces you can get from Dollar Tree in their Crafter Square section. I'm removing the label from the back, and I am doing one thick coat of the white Waverly chalk paint on this. Once that has dried, I will use my sanding, either my finger sander or sanding sponge, we're going to find out together, to distress the edges of this a little bit. And then I'm going to use a window cling I had. Not the jelly ones, just a normal window cling that I had from Dollar Tree that looks like the gnomes, the leprechaun gnomes. I'm going to use some Mod Podge on the back of it and spread it with my paintbrush. Oh, there we go, sanding sponge. And then I will go over the cling once I get it glued to this plaque with Mod Podge again to secure it on there. And because I felt like it was missing something, I will be adding twine into the little beveled edge of this plaque all along it so it'll trace it out. And I do use two Jenga blocks in the back so this can stand up on its own. And I did paint one of the Jenga blocks white because you could see some of it on the front side of it just a little bit, so I just wanted it to blend in. That way it wasn't so noticeable. To adhere that twine to there, I was just debating on wrapping the twine on the top or the bottom, but I changed my mind, as you guys will see. But to adhere that twine to that beveled edge, I just used a very small bead of hot glue here and there. That way it would stick, but you wouldn't be able to see the glue oozing out from underneath it. And there he is, all done. He is on the bottom tier of that tiered tray on my kitchen island, and I just have a little cauldron filled with the glittery styrofoam shamrocks from Dollar Tree setting next to him. And on to DIY number 3. I am taking one of these cone floral pieces that I did purchase from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using this white fuzzy Chanel yarn I have on hand also from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap the entire cone with this from the bottom to the top. As you see, I did have to secure this yarn here and there with some hot glue, that way it wasn't going to unravel, and I apologize, but I am famous for going in and out of frame when I do my DIYs. I have glued the end of the yarn piece to the top of that cone, and now I'm going to take this green feather boa, also from Dollar Tree, that I had on hand from their St. Patrick's Day collection, and I'm cutting it down into about 4 strips, and then I'm going to hot glue it to about maybe like a third or fourth of the way down on this cone. And then once I get those all adhered, I'm going to trim it up some more at the bottom, and then I will add some more here and there as I feel needed. If you haven't guessed yet, we are making ourselves a St. Patrick's Day gnome here. For the gnome's hat, I'm just using one of these leprechaun hats that is also from the Dollar Tree. I didn't change it at all, I just cut the tag off of it. And I am also using a large wooden bead I already had in my craft stash as his nose. So I place the hat on there first, and then I glue the nose on so I know where I want it. And then I fill in the empty spots where I feel there's more beard needed. With the leftover feathers, I will tell you this was a mess of a project to make, but it was fun and easy to do. Once I get all that done, I will secure his hat on with a little bit of hot glue around the brim of it as well. That way it doesn't pop off. And there's our St. Patty's Day gnome all completed. He is sitting on a tall chest in my living room next to this letterboard that Peyton filled out that says Happy St. Patty's Day. I think he turned out super cute. Let me know what you guys think of that one. And now on to DIY number 4. So I had used this base for one of my Valentine's Day DIYs to do a floral heart topiary. So I just removed that heart topiary and decided to use one of the foam shamrocks that I had from Dollar Tree. As you saw in the beginning there, I did rip one in half by accident trying to pull the tag and string out the top instead of just cutting it off. So don't make that error. I'm using a wooden dowel and my miter shears to cut it down to size at an angle, because this is got a thinner base than what my styrofoam heart had for the Valentine's Day topiary. So that angle helped me shove that into the styrofoam without having it rip too much. Once I got that all fitted and at the length I wanted it, I'm just going to paint it with one coat of this green apple barrel paint. I believe it's forest green. And then I'm going to use some green gift ribbon I had on hand just to glue here and there and twirl around this stem, we're going to call it, of this little topiary. As you can see, Peyton's walking back and forth in the background because she was making something to eat, I believe. After that was all done and dry, I do use some hot glue on the end of that stick, and then I shove it up into that styrofoam again of the shamrock. That way it doesn't fall off. And then we're going to stick it back into the base and that has just some reindeer moss in there. And then I'm just using some of the gold plastic coins I still had on hand from Dollar Tree to lay on the base of this just to give it some more decor. I will use the green ribbon to tie around this and then hot glue a little gold coin to the front of it as well. Not to the actual base itself, but to the ribbon, just to zhuzh it up. And then I will put a little tiny leprechaun in there gnome that I have on hand from Dollar General. And here is that topiary all completed. I did add a white shamrock foam piece I had from a different pick to the center of that. I just shoved it down in there with the stick, and it is sitting on my mantle. I think it turned out pretty cute, and it was a quick DIY to do. On to the DIY number 5. The first thing I did was take this tinsel shamrock I had from Dollar Tree, and I'm removing all of the tinsel from it. I'm going to pry the pieces apart, so it's 2 pieces of plastic pegged together. And then I am going to wrap one half of this with this Oscar the Grouch green and white and gray yarn I had on hand from Marcus that he had picked up at a thrift store for me. And I just wrapped this in its entirety just to give it a different look. I will say that this is time consuming, but not hard to do. I don't make you guys watch all of it. As you can see, I cut out the rest of that footage, but that shamrock is all completed. So we're going to use it towards a wreath. I don't end up using that large wreath form that I have sitting there, but I am using, I've done several rag wreaths on my channel, so I'm just using a combination of drop cloth fabric that I always have on hand. It's like $10 for a huge sheet of it, so it comes in handy. I cut it down into about maybe 12-inch strips, and then I cut those strips in half, so into 6 inches. I did not count how many of each I had, but there was quite a bit, and I still have some left over. And then I'm going to take a combination of some light green fabric I had from Dollar Tree, white fabric I had from Dollar Tree, and dark green fabric I had from Dollar Tree, and I cut down 6 strips of this, because that piece of fabric is folded in half. Well, all the fabrics are folded in half, and then I cut them down. You guys will see, and close to the same length as the drop cloth pieces are. So instead of using that large wreath form I have sitting on the table there, I decided to grab one of those tomato rings. So during the spring and summer, a lot of the times Dollar Tree will sell the little tomato growing thing where it has like 3 rings on it and a couple stakes. I removed the biggest ring from there, and then I put a dab of hot glue on the one end before I slid it back into the metal piece to secure it, that way it didn't fall apart. And then I'm just going to take my fabric and tie it once around. So my pattern was 2 drop cloth strips, light green, white, dark green, and then back to the 2 drop cloth strips. So there's that shamrock that I had covered in the yarn, and I'm just using some cotton twine, also from Dollar Tree, to secure this to the front of this wreath. I tied it on here, I think in 3 different areas, and I liked using this white cotton twine because it blended right in with the rest of that yarn on that shamrock. And then I'm going to take one of the leprechaun hat picks that they had out, that some of them had shamrocks on top of them, you know, like stuck through the top of them, and the other one had the word luck. So I removed the word luck from one of the hats and played with the placement of it and decided on putting the word luck off to one side, and I'm just going to secure that down with some hot glue on the one side. Peyton did help with me choosing where this was going to go. And then she had the idea for me to utilize that leprechaun hat that I took those letters out of and put it on top of the shamrock as its hat. So I will be cutting out the bottom center of that leprechaun hat with my scissors. It was pretty tough to get through. I think it's a combination of styrofoam, cardboard, and paper mache. So it was pretty tough, but it wasn't, you know, too hard to do. And then I will add a couple gold coins to the hat as well. I did also paint the top of this hat, sorry you guys, with the green apple barrel paint, because you can see white styrofoam spots from where I had pulled out the word luck and the little pipe cleaners they had in there. So we just covered that real quick with some green paint to blend it all in, so that was no big deal. And plus, once it's hung up, you can't even see it. And I did use just a long strip of that white cotton twine to tie at the top of this wreath so it can be used as a hanger. And here is this little rag wreath completed. It's hanging on the dining room wall next to a couple other things that you guys will see at the end of this video. And on to the final DIY here, I believe DIY number 6. Super easy, just taking this wooden shamrock, also from the Dollar Tree, and this rainbow vinyl, also from the Dollar Tree. I am going to cut out, first I was going to just like, you see me there taking a piece of the vinyl, and I'm like tracing the heart with my finger to make it have the indentation. But that was not working cohesively for me, so I ended up just taking a square piece. I cut it, I put it down on there, and then I use my X-Acto knife to cut off the excess around the heart, and then I'll also use my finger sander to trim off any excess around there as well, and to distress it a little bit. And I do a different section of this rainbow vinyl on each heart. That way all the colors are on there. As you see off to the left there, Peyton actually sat there and was doing some crafting with me. She actually painted the gnome sun catcher I picked up from Dollar General, where he's dressed like an Easter bunny. So I thought that was sweet because she doesn't do this with me very often anymore since she's a teenager now. So once all those hearts were covered with rainbow vinyl, I do use a baby wipe and some Waverly Antique Wax to go over the wood parts of the shamrock that was not covered. And then once that had set up and dried, I used a combination of white apple barrel paint with a little dot of the forest green in there to make a very light mint green color. And I am going to dry brush it with this stencil brush I had from Dollar Tree all along the parts of that I had faux stained with that Waverly Antique Wax. Once it had all dried, I just take that finger sander and distress the edges of it a little bit here and there. I put the twine hanger back in through the holes, and I am going to have this hanging in the center of one of my wreaths that I have out year round. I just move it from room to room as I feel like it, so it is back in my living room. On the door I have that is like a huge picture frame for me, so there you see it all completed. So let me know what you guys think of that. I think it came out cute. Peyton liked it as well. She was impressed with the different ideas. And then here's just some pictures of the decor I have around the house. I didn't do too much because it is St. Patrick's Day. That's the tree on top of the china cabinet. There's the wall with the rag wreath I told you guys about. And then just some other little decor pieces that I had picked up here and there from Dollar Tree. Those shamrocks around the vase there, and the ones that were on the tier tray with the DIYs I had done. Oh, there's my fireplace and mantle. Is just those headbands from Dollar Tree. I cut them apart and just wrapped them around. So let me know what you guys think of these DIYs and the little bit of decor I did put up for St. Patty's Day. And let me know if you guys did any decorating for St. Patty's Day as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a like. Also, if you're new here, welcome. Please feel free to subscribe, become part of our craziness over here, and drop a comment. I will talk to you guys soon. Love you all so much.